Hello and welcome everybody to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog, joined by Adam Peddle. Today, everybody, we have a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about, a lot of things going on right now in the world of baseball. Trade deadline is obviously getting a lot closer, so there's a lot of conversations going on there. The Mets, the New York Mets, they're alive. And they have a new hero, so we got to talk about that, as well as something going on with the umpires. I mean, umpires as a whole, but then also one umpire specifically. And, of course, All-Star break is coming up, everybody. So we got to talk about the current voting that's going on right now. Who should be there? Who should not be there? All of that and more on this episode. But first things first, everybody. Adam, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing okay. I mean, we were on a weekend trip with the boys at the cottage, and a lot of energy. Not a lot of relaxing really been doing at the cottage. A lot of energy being used, a lot of drinks being drank.
Right.
And we're still doing a long recovery. We're getting older now.
Yeah.
And it's Thursday.
You know, I hate to out this guy on this platform right now, but there was one specific individual who dropped an 82 bomb on the weekend. And when I say that, I mean 82 alcoholic beverages consumed. We are not condoning that in any capacity. No. That is actually messed up. But we're talking like Aaron Judge level numbers that this guy put up.
This guy literally broke the record for all cottages everywhere.
I genuinely can't get over it. It's scary kind of when you say it out loud. Either way, everybody, that's what the boys have been up to. Cottage weekend, but now we're here and we come back and we look at the world of baseball right now, and all of a sudden, the LA Dodgers, they're still World Series favorites. They will always be World Series favorites, but dealing with a couple injuries. Mr. Mookie Betts, MVP frontrunner and favorite, that guy is going to be gone for 6 to 8 weeks. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the big offseason signing, or one of them from the LA Dodgers, he's dealing with some stuff right now.
Yeah, he's dealing with a right rotator cuff, going to be missing more than a month, so that's huge.
Right.
For an already depleted kind of pitching staff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're getting hit right now. The injury bug is alive and well, and it is at the LA Dodgers now.
Oh, yeah, it's bad. And then they also lost Walker Buehler. Granted, Walker Buehler has not looked like Walker Buehler of the past. Walker Buehler is having a horrible season. He's hurt. He's going on the IL. And then now it begs the question, man, like there's so many injuries going on. And, is this going to really impact the Dodgers and their reign? I mean, the NL is actually pretty soft this year. But, this is obviously not good when you lose Mookie Betts, who's the face of your franchise. Yamamoto, who gets paid $300 million, looking like a stud. Is there depth with, Ohtani, Will Smith, and Freddie Freeman? Are these guys going to start picking up the slack for these guys?
Well, I'll tell you what right now, man. If the question is, are you worried about the Dodgers? My answer is a resounding and unequivocal absolutely not, right? Because
I agree.
I think that, okay, you lose Mookie Betts, you lose Yoshinobu Yamamoto, you have some bad performances from Walker Buehler, who is also dealing with some stuff. Congratulations, you are now just a good team. Like with the
still a great team.
That's what I mean. It's like with the remaining players that you still have, you are still, in my opinion, anyways, in the upper echelon when it comes to the MLB. You're not the game-breaking, just ridiculous on paper roster that you were a month prior, but you were still a phenomenal team right now. I'm looking over at their division. They got 8 games on the San Diego Padres. I mean, that has got to be up there for the most distance. I'm looking at it right now. That is tied with the – excuse me. I'm sorry. The Mariners actually had the biggest gap with 10 games, but they've only won 44, so it just goes to show how bad their division is. But that is a massive room of buffer that you have to play with between you and the San Diego Padres. And frankly, I mean, like I think we can both agree right now, the Padres and the Dodgers, they're not close. Right. They're not in the same tier.
Right, but I guess you could say the Dodgers aren't even worried about their division, as you're saying right now, right? They're not worried, but what they're worried about is going on and beating the other teams in the World Series and the CS. Like, they got to beat those Phillies. They got to beat whoever comes out of the AL, and the AL's looking pretty good and pretty top-heavy this year with the Baltimore Orioles, and you've got the Guardians, and you've got the Yankees. So for me, it's like, okay, they need to guarantee that their World Series or bust. That's all the Dodgers have ever been for the last decade. And losing Mookie Betts, that may be a swing in the direction that they don't want to go. Sure, he comes back after 8 weeks, but are you going to get Mookie Betts back into prime? Even the best players take a little bit of time, especially dealing with a wrist injury. I mean, you're using that wrist all the time. Fielding, he's playing shortstop this year. Batting, like he's been phenomenal. Is that going to be enough time to recover and get back in the action? If I'm the Dodgers, I might need to start thinking about who's going to be playing shortstop for me if he's not up to par. I need some more help in that position.
Okay, well, I hear what you're saying there, but I don't think you can go out and you can make a big trade for like a big time name in the shortstop position, because even if Mookie Betts comes back and I mean he's just not playing incredible, which I don't think is going to happen. I mean I think that there's a difference between the generational players and just the average player, and I do think that Mookie Betts is on that verge of being generational. I think he's going to come back and be maybe not quite as good, but still very good. But let's just go down the rabbit hole and say that that's not the case. Mm-hmm. You still have to play him. Like you're definitely not going to bench Mookie Betts.
You're going to play him, and I guess you got to see how the state of his injury is coming back. I don't know how much his left hand is going to be affected because that's his fielding hand. Like his fielding, is he going to be more? Is it going to hurt him? He's going to have to go back to the outfield. Like there's sometimes injuries can plague you a little bit for the remainder of the season. So yeah, they got Rojas on their team. We were looking at this right before the show.
He's
Rojas
good, dude.
Has been very good this year, right? He could definitely be a replacement for this team. I mean, he's this is a fun stat. He's 20-0. The Dodgers are 20-0 when Rojas has a hit. And Rojas has been primarily a bench guy. So it goes to show, like, okay, well, if their bench guys are popping off, then their top guys are just doing top guy stuff and they're undefeated.
John Boy has an incredible segment of, I think it's stats that exist but do not matter.
Yeah.
I feel like that falls in that category, but, like, if you're Miguel Rojas, like, fucking ride with that, dude. Like, you hold on to that, you toss that on the Instagram bio, like, perfect record when I get on base.
I'm clutch. I'm the most valuable player.
Legit.
I'm the most valuable player. The whole win or loss depends on my hit right now.
Well, apparently so, man. So, look, the Dodgers, in my opinion, yes, these injuries are bad, but I actually don't think it changes that much for them. If Mookie Betts or if, Yamamoto or whoever else was out for the season, that's a completely different thing for me. But because they're coming back, I think that you're still in the exact same position that you were when you had them, which is we are obviously going to buy. We're going to go out and we're going to compete for the best player available. We're going to look for a bat. We're going to look for a pitcher. Yeah. I don't think anything's changed in that regard. So I feel like, if anything, maybe this just ignites them a bit more. Like if they are in a bidding war, they will go and try to outbid whomstever it is that they're dealing with. But I still think the Dodgers are going to Dodger regardless of who's healthy or who's not. They are going to be in there for the Tanner Scotts, the best closers on the market.
They need bullpen.
They are going to be in there for, it's not coming to me right now, but, whoever the best starting pitchers available
Crochet, from the White Sox. That'd be perfect.
Flaherty, right? They'll be in the mix for all of these guys. And then from a hitting standpoint, I think that they will definitely be looking for it. I don't know if this necessarily means that they're going to be looking for somebody who is, going to slot in and be that shortstop guy.
Yeah.
I think that they're just going to be like, hey, who's the best bat available?
Right.
Come play with us. Come win a ring with us. You know?
Yeah. Hey, look, I mean, bats aside, I think the bats are okay. I'm agreeing with you. But I do think they do need some starting rotation help. They've already been in that conversation even before the Yamamoto injury that they were like, oh, we definitely need some starting help.
Yeah.
Right? Because they do have Bobby Miller, who actually is coming back now that Walker Buehler is on the IL, so that's great. Bobby Miller's a beast.
Yeah,
This guy's an absolute beast, like second coming of Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw. It's the next wave.
Could be, man.
In this Dodgers system. But you got Glass now, Miller, Gavin Stone, James Paxton right now. And that's only 4. You might be getting Clayton Kershaw back, but what are you going to get from Clayton Kershaw? We have no idea. So for me, I still think they need that front end rotation guy, maybe a bullpen piece. And I think their prospect pool isn't that deep, but if they're going to unload, it's time to unload now. I mean, it's World Series or nothing. You got Ohtani on the team. You got Yamamoto. You're spending all the money. It's time to go. Like, unload the guys.
Well, yeah, they're absolutely going to unload. They're going to be unloading for the next decade or more. As long as Shohei Ohtani is on that team and playing even remotely close to the caliber that he is currently playing and then that we've all grown accustomed to, I don't see the LA Dodgers not shipping off prospects pretty much year in and year out, or in the offseason, or not, trying to acquire more talent, trying to bring more players in so that they can go compete for a ring. This team is just way too talented. I mean, I'm listening to you spout off about the rotation being like they need help. Tyler Glasnow's really good, and James Paxton's actually been, decent, right? So their 4 guys that they have is still a lot better than most MLB teams, right? But because they're the LA Dodgers, we hold them to this high standard of it is World Series or bust. At the very minimum, you are in the NLCS. At the very minimum. So they're going to go out and they're going to do it.
And you're buying yourself some insurance too, because injuries could still happen, right? I mean, they're getting injured now. Who's to say they won't get injured later, right? Like it could always continuously happen. There is one or 2 guys, on this article. I have it right here on MLB.com. I think it's Juan Toribio. If I mispronounced that, my apologies. They're saying 2 guys that have been rumored heavily towards the LA Dodgers in the trade market is Bo Bichette and Willy Adames. Now, I'll say it right here. Willy Adames is on the Brewers doing phenomenally well. I mean, this guy has an OPS plus of 113, and the Brewers are in a winning window and a weak NL Central, so that, for me, makes 0 sense.
The Milwaukee Brewers right now are leading their division by 8 games.
Right. Yeah.
I don't
know why you would do that.
You don't trade away one of your better players when you're in the lead of a division by that much.
You know what's funny? We say that now. Guess who they traded away when they were competing a couple years ago? Josh Hader.
Yeah.
That was. You know why? Because Willy Adames is going to get paid next year. This is last year.
Right.
So if they do some big brain stuff.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but when they made that trade, or sent Josh Hader away, I don't think that they were this competitive, right? Like
I think they're better this year.
Yeah,
the offense is the offense is their strength.
Yes.
So maybe they do some big brain stuff. They go, "Hey, Dodgers, you got any pitching for us?" I don't know.
No, man. Listen,
look, this is the way of the Milwaukee Brewers. This is the way.
I hear you. I think this is a different situation. Like if they actually did this, or if they did that, and I'm a Milwaukee Brewers fan, I'm going, what the fuck, guys? We're gonna win our division.
I know.
We're not, like, I'll say it right now. They're not as good as the Phillies, and they're not as good as the Dodgers in the NL, right? But I think that you could, and they're probably not as good as the Braves either, but with the Strider injury and the Acuna injury, that levels the playing field a lot, right? But it's close right there. Anything could happen. You are at the very least the 4th best team in the National League for sure.
You're going to make playoffs.
You will make playoffs.
Yeah.
If they trade away Willy Adames, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Now, the Blue Jays side of things,
different story.
We've obviously talked about this, extensively on our other channel, Blue Jays Today. So if you want a more in-depth analysis, please go check that out. Bo Bichette going over to the Dodgers, this makes a lot of sense to me. The more that I think about it, this makes so much sense because the Toronto Blue Jays are obviously going through hell right now. This is the season from hell, and they are learning right now who they actually are, and it is not somebody that you like. It's not somebody that you want.
No. And Bo Bichette right now, he is on the IL. He's recovering right now. But the thing is, from a Blue Jays insider perspective, they're calling up lots of infielders right now. You got Addison Barger. They just called up Orelvis Martinez. Spencer Horwitz made the transition to second base. They got IKF, who's doing well over there. David Schneider can play infield. They have tons of infielders right now. And Bo Bichette has not played a good shortstop. He has not been hitting for this Toronto Blue Jays team. And right now, between him and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., in terms of extension, it's clearly Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Granted, not getting that $300 million like he wants. It's a lot less.
Hell no, dude.
But if you're going to extend anybody, it would probably be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And not Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette doesn't really feel like a Blue Jay for life, as from our point of view.
Right now,
Right now, no. So you might as well bring up the next wave, which they did, keep him there, trade Bo Bichette to the Dodgers, get a package, restock that farm system, and look for the next wave.
You know, it's absolutely wild what a couple months can do, right? And this is why I always say, what have you done for me lately?
Exactly.
Because that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
You know, we walked into this season, and I know both of us were saying, Bo's the guy.
Bo's the guy.
Bo's the guy,
Bo's the
right?
guy.
You know, on the Toronto Blue Jays, Bo was the guy. He has been or had been playing better than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for several seasons in a row, consistently putting up the exact same numbers year in, year out. We knew who he was, or we thought we knew who he was. Flash forward to 2.5 months later, I have no fucking idea who this guy is anymore. I don't even know if he wants to play baseball, or at the very least on this team.
Right.
So, you know, it is crazy what a couple months can do. And hindsight being hindsight, yeah, there's no way Bo Bichette's getting the extension at this point. And I will say this, if he does go to LA, if he does go to the Dodgers, the 630 OPS or whatever he's hitting right now, he will not be hitting that anymore. They will get the best out of him.
I know. He's going to turn it around immediately. He's going to be back in his 840 OPS, batting 300 days. And you know what? That's totally cool. If that's what they're paying for the Toronto Blue Jays, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to make one comment about the whole, Vladdy and Bo thing. Vladdy, I've never seen a stretch of 3 months of this bad, where Bo Bichette has. I have seen actually many stretches of this bad. Granted, it all turns around eventually for Bo Bichette, but I feel more comfortable. I know Vladdy's an above average player with the bat, with the OPS plus. Bo Bichette right now is proving to me that he's volatile in his game.
You know, I know you just said that you've seen this long from Bo. I don't think I ever have, man. I mean, we've seen a month or so, 2.5 months of and some of the at bats that Bo's doing it's awful.
There was one stretch, I think it was 2022, where he was bad not this bad, but pretty bad. And then he had the crazy month of September and hit almost 400.
And you forget about it immediately because the season-long stats look really good. But again, flashing or circling back to the LA Dodgers, Bo would be one of those players that I think that they could definitely be in on. But when it kind of begs the question, when Mookie Betts would come back, then what do you do then?
I know what you do. You move his ass to second base.
What finally should have been happening years ago. Because
the problem is, for those who aren't Blue Jay fans, Ross Atkins, general manager, is committed to Bo Bichette being the shortstop. He owed it to Bo Bichette. And now that you're over the Dodgers, buddy, you're owed nothing. Well, you're second base now.
We've learned that Bo Bichette, at least in this season, on a Blue Jays standpoint, is volatile with the bat. But we always knew that defensively speaking. Yeah, he has never been a good defensive shortstop. No. Even in his best seasons ever, he is still well below league average. This guy is not good with the glove, and we've been calling for it time and time again. Move him to second base. The LA Dodgers are a competent organization. Congratulations, LA. You guys know what you're doing. They will make that change if they were to trade for him. They literally have that in mind.
Dude, it's not even a question. Okay, you are Mookie Betts. Sorry, buddy.
Duh.
This guy is a pro bowler.
Yes.
All right. This guy can do anything he wants. He's an amazing golfer.
Yeah.
I mean, you play tennis, but cool. You have a noodle arm.
Yeah.
So go play second.
No, 100%, dude. The LA Dodgers and what they're gonna do this trade deadline should once again create headlines.
Oh yeah.
Let's move on and talk about the All-Star game, because that's going to be coming up relatively soon, folks. And as per usual, when the first round of voting comes out, social media, loses their mind, and everybody starts arguing about who deserves to be there and who doesn't deserve to be there. And then somebody who's never watched baseball before goes, I think this is a popularity contest. Little do they know, it has always been a popularity contest. So how about you just run through some of the notable, leaders right now, in your opinion, for the All-Star game? And I guess, who do you think is not currently leading that deserves to go to the All-Star game, deserves to get all the votes?
Well, let's start right here. We're looking at another article here by Thomas Harrigan, MLB.com. He starts it out with the American League. We go from first all the way to outfield and DH and catcher. So at first base, we're talking about the Toronto Blue Jays. You have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the first place position. Granted, at the time during the voting, the numbers were very similar between him and the guys behind him, like Ryan Mountcastle, Josh Naylor. But now Josh Naylor is going nuclear. This guy has 19 home runs. I don't know if you got his stats right there in terms of RBIs, But he right now is currently ranked
54.
54.
Yeah.
Insane. He currently is ranked third in the first base voting at 404,000 to Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s 746,000. Vladdy's gotten really cold. Josh Naylor's numbers are surpassing him. I need to see Josh Naylor, the Canadian, shout out in the All-Star game starting for the American League.
Just to put that in perspective, that ties him for 6th in all of MLB in terms of
what are we doing?
RBIs and home runs, because he's at 19 right now. He is 5th in all of baseball.
And what's his OPS?
His OPS right now is 820. It's 820. So solid. Like very, very solid.
I think that leads first baseman.
Dude, we're going to have a little segment later on in this show, good for baseball, presented by Greta, brought to you by Bad for Baseball. It's a whole thing. It's going to be great. Great. But I think Josh Naylor's good for baseball. I think,
dude, that guy's a maniac.
That's the thing.
I love this guy.
He is a fucking maniac.
I love maniacs.
Seriously, right? Like, we're looking at this big, burly-looking, scary-looking dude that just wears his heart on his sleeve. He's an old-time slugger. Like, he is he's one of those guys. Like, I picture him coming out of the 80s or something like that, but he's present day, just slugging that thing, low batting average, just fucking pumping the baseball, and the reactions that he has.
It's the reaction with me.
when he annihilates that thing.
You say old time, I think he's modern, because no old timer reacts to that when he hits a home run.
That's true,
old timer smashes a baseball bat over his head when he hits a home run.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because back then it was like, you don't celebrate. You just you go about your business.
Josh Naylor does not give a fuck.
Josh Naylor is the future of baseball. This guy's crazy, and I love him. Actually, I kind of want a Naylor jersey, bro. That'd be sick.
Absolutely, dude. I mean,
little side note
for
for me,
Canadian baseball, obviously Josh Naylor is phenomenal, and I think for the MLB as a whole, like, this guy is great, and the fact that, like, he is so good at baseball as well, and then also has all these reactions, and, like, is just such a personality. This is what takes the game and brings it to another level.
This is good for baseball.
It is. It is. It's really good for baseball, man. So shout out to Josh Naylor. At this point, I mean, just looking at the numbers on a page, if you were to say, who would you prefer, this player or that player, I would have to pick him over Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 54 RBIs is a lot.
Me too. And another guy with a lot of RBIs, too, at third base for the American League is Jose Ramirez. He, right now, is first in voting, and he rightfully so. This guy is amazing. Like, he has more RBIs than Josh Naylor. This guy's got 64. 64 RBIs.
That's a lot of ribbies.
18 home runs, OPS of 864. But one guy that I think deserves a little bit more love as of late is Rafael Devers. Granted, not as many RBIs, only 38, only 14 home runs, still pretty good. But the OPS is nice at 912. I think Devers deserves a shot. Granted, Jordan Westburg has been awesome.
He's also been incredible, too.
But it's like Devers, he's putting up some pretty good slash line numbers, and I want to give him a little bit of love on this as well.
I look at that grouping right there in the third baseman of the American League of Jose Ramirez, Jordan Westburg, and Rafael Devers, and I'm honestly not upset with whatever happens there. I think that every single one of them has a claim, and I think that it kind of goes down to, well, what do you value, right? As somebody who watches baseball or somebody who wants to vote on this, right? Do you value that, the fact that Jose Ramirez at the end of the day is putting up numbers? Like, he is
huge numbers.
Literally
the Guardians as a team as a whole is just like producing.
That's the thing. This guy is producing. However, do you value the fact that if you would put Rafael Devers into the exact same situation every time, probably would be producing more? We don't know for sure, but probably would be the case. It's tough to say. Either way, I mean, J-Ram is a fucking stud. Devers is a frickin' stud, and Jordan Westburg right now, like, on the Baltimore Orioles, like, he's come to life out of nowhere. And I mean, we've already gassed up the Orioles a couple times on this podcast, but what they do in their player development systems and just bringing out the best in these guys that we've never freaking heard of, it is unmatched. It is unparalleled. Jordan Westburg is going to be one of those guys who might just be good for a long time, and we don't know where he came from or why, but that's the Baltimore Orioles, baby.
Yeah, and that's literally the Orioles. You want to talk about good development, there you go. Orioles are great. Also, one guy that's also great, man, we're going to be gassing up the Guardians this show.
Right.
I wanted to bring up Stephen Kwan.
Yeah.
Like, yes, in the voting right now, you've got Aaron Judge first, Juan Soto second, Kyle Tucker third. Easy. Those guys are superstars, elites, Hall of Fame potential all around. Amazing. Then you've got Stephen Kwan, who deserves love. He's fourth. Granted, I think that's where he should be with all those names up there. But in the last month of baseball, this dude has an average of 414, and his OPS it doesn't have it right here on MLB.com, but doing quick maths, almost 1.1. 1.1 OPS. He's popping off. He's only got 20 RBIs. Granted, he's batting leadoff, so he's got 41 runs scored. He is popping off, man. He's having a generational run. And at age 26, this guy could be breaking out and becoming a legit superstar.
No, I feel bad for Stephen Kwan because, like, when you hit 390, you should go to the All-Star game. You should be starting in the All-Star game.
But he might be on the bench.
It just so happens that you are looking at three of the best players in baseball that happen to play the same position you and happen to be in the same league as you. And looking at all of them, like, none of Aaron Judge or Juan Soto or Kyle Tucker has even blinked this season so far. They are doing exactly what everybody anticipated from them and then some. I mean, Stephen Kwan, like, if you can sneak in there, man, if you continue to have, like, a just this torrid run and, you know, maybe just claw one out over Kyle Tucker, I'll throw you a vote. I think it would be cool. I feel like the Cleveland Guardians are one of those teams where people just forget about them, and I understand it, right? They're not in the mainstream media. They don't like to spend a lot of money. But I would go so far to say that the Cleveland Guardians this year, even though they are leading their division, might be one of the most underrated baseball teams in the MLB, which is wild because they are literally first in their division, and nobody talks about how incredible all of these players are doing.
Well, you want to talk about comparisons right now. We were talking about the LA Dodgers. Comparing them to the Dodgers, they got a way better win percentage. 634, Dodgers have a 605. So they're doing better. They are doing better than the Dodgers, and they didn't spend $1.1 billion or whatever the hell it was.
Dude, no,
they didn't do that.
Close.
They just play great baseball, and they have maniacs on their teams.
That's the thing. They got maniacs, dude. And I would go so far to say that Jose Ramirez is a bit of a maniac too.
This guy literally, did you hear the funny quote? He was like, "I'm better than Barry Bonds" or something like that.
Was it him that said that?
That was him, yeah. But I think it was a joke. I think it was taken out of context. I'm pretty sure he was kidding.
He must be.
Yeah, because he's not better than Barry Bonds. But like, he's unreal though.
You know, listen, maybe this is a bit contentious. I've said this before off camera. We need somebody like Jose Ramirez to do a test. Like this is an experiment, so we can all understand. We know what you're like without taking steroids and without doing PEDs. I mean, I assume that he doesn't, and I think that he doesn't. We can all say that right now.
I hope
never
not.
had any incident with that. We know what you're like. We know how good you are, and he's incredible. Now I want to see a season where you do it. And I just want to see the difference. Just to know, right? Because there's this whole conversation of, oh, well, Barry Bonds shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because he took PEDs. And that's obviously the case, and that happened. But how much of a difference did it actually make? Are we talking 300 OPS points?
That's why I want to know, when did Barry Bonds take PEDs? Can someone tell me when? Because, look, there's your case study right there. When did he start taking it? What did he do after and before? Right. And also, you got to factor in, like, age and, like, getting better and getting more experience. So you got to factor all that in. I mean, that's a Rob Manfred experiment if I ever heard one. If he's going to do it.
Listen, there's a lot of there's so many variables right here. But, you know, I want to take a player in the middle of their career where it's like they've been, you know, they should be an experienced player right now, like a Jose Ramirez, but they're also not old enough so that their body's declining, like a Jose Ramirez. We know what we're going to get. It's completely stable. Take some PEDs, show me how good you can be, and now we know. Now we know the difference. You know, I want to know, like, what is the variable?
So it's more just to know.
Well, it's
like one of those lifelong questions. Does PEDs actually make a difference?
Well, here's the thing, right? If there's no difference at all,
everyone does.
If there's literally no difference at all, why isn't Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame?
Okay, maybe that's the question.
You know, but if there is like a massive difference where it's like, oh my God, Jose Ramirez just hit fucking 65 home runs and you know, like, is going nuclear. Okay, now we know it's big.
You gotta imagine there is a difference. I mean, you think about the eras in the 90s, the steroid era, like those home run totals were out of this world. And in the past, they weren't. And then now they were. So I would say that they would be making a difference. I mean, do you just see the bodies on, like, Mark McGwire?
Mark McGwire was an animal, bro. He was an animal.
Like, it's insane, you know? Like, so I think we already know it does.
Right.
But I hear what you're saying.
I just want to know how much. How much of a difference?
So then maybe just subtract all of Barry Bonds, the difference.
That's the thing, right? Like, maybe Barry Bonds is just a 950 OPS guy.
Still Hall of Famer.
Still a Hall of Famer, you know? Okay, you can go to the Hall of Fame now. It's like, we got to know, guys. We got to know. Let's move on and talk about something else that is just kind of ridiculous right now. The New York Mets were down. They were out. They were terrible. But let me read off the title of this article that I have right here. It's called "Bow Before the King. Did gay icon Grimace save the Mets season?" ? That is a real title that I'm looking at. That is a real title. Grimace, if you don't know, is this purple potato-looking motherfucker
from McDonald's.
He's a happy-go-lucky guy. You know, I'm sure that he pulls at the bar when he's had a couple. Like, he looks like he could for sure. And apparently Grimace came out in New York for a game, threw out the first pitch, and my God, the ripple effect that has created. You might be looking at the MVP right here.
You must be, man, because ever since he threw out the first pitch, the Mets have the best record in the National League, 7-1, most runs scored in the MLB, most home runs hit in the MLB, and they have now re-entered the wild card race right now, bro. Like, looking at where they are, they're only one game back right here from the wild card. And dude, people in the wild card right now, you got St. Louis Cardinals 36-37, Washington Nationals 36-37. Below 500 teams. Grimace is going to bring the Mets to the World Series. I think you got to rechange your mascot. Mr. Met is their mascot. You're demoted, buddy. I think Grimace needs to be coming on the field. Also, you want to have a good chuckle, just go on Twitter, look up Mets Grimace. Hilarious memes. You got one of, like, a dub over of, like, Edwin Diaz coming out and, like, his trumpet music, but it's a Grimace. It's Grimace walking out. It's insane, man. Honestly,
does anyone know like what is his whole deal? Like
what do you mean?
Like, well, what is he?
Well, I have no idea what the hell he is.
He said he's with McDonald's, but like,
well,
that doesn't look like a McDonald's thing.
He used to be a burglar back in the day, and then they, like, got rid of the burglar thing. It's like
he was the burglar.
Or, like, I think he helped out the burglar. Not because there's a burglar guy. Yeah. I think he, like, helped out. I don't really know. But But last year, there was, like, a whole meme thing going on of, like, how there was the Grimace shake and, like, it was, like, poisoning everybody, and then he became a meme.
Okay. So he's basically
just meme, dude.
A walking, talking, baseball throwing meme.
Yeah. Great job on McDonald's marketing. I don't know if they intentionally did it, but, like, this guy is, like, a very popular meme.
Bro, how much do you think the guy who's Grimace gets paid?
Oh, my God. He's got to get a raise, bro. He's got to be getting a raise.
Saying,
I don't know how much.
I'm sure, like, you think it's the same guy? It's got to be, right?
I mean, they got to have probably different. I mean, there's so many McDonald's everywhere. They got to have different Grimaces.
But, like, there's got to be, like, one. Like, I feel like there's got to be, like, one main Grimace, you know? Or do you just have, like the one, like, it's like the fucking Michael Jordan of McDonald's, you know, and you fly out your Grimace, you know, to all the different places.
You got, like, a council of Grimaces, you know, everyone, like, all the Grimaces from all over the country, like, get together. And,
maybe,
like, one main Grimace, you know, a lineup of different Grimaces.
Well, I'm just saying, like, name me one other big market brand out there that has their, you know, one of their mascots, by the way, not even like the, you know, Ronald McDonald or anything, just like, I don't even know what this guy does, but, you know, starting memes worldwide, basically. Yeah. I can't come up with a single other brand. This guy deserves at least a 6-figure salary for doing what he's doing right now.
The amount of, like, free marketing. Like, you have people making memes over Grimace right now and getting, like, hundreds of thousands of views, man. And they're not even doing anything. They're not even paying these people.
No.
That's exceptional marketing.
No. This guy threw out a pitch, and the New York Mets are a different baseball team.
Are we saying the Mets are back in now? And they, like, the whole we're selling and being bad. I mean, dude, you're one game out of a wild card.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, when you're that close, you know, selling has got to be far from your mind, right? I know that was the game plan, but you are that close. Steve Cohen's the guy. If he even sniffs any, pathway to a wild card or a playoff berth or anything like that, he will go all in.
Oh yeah,
he will, dude. He will buy Grimace, and he will bring him to every single goddamn baseball game that he has to.
I think the Mets got to have Grimace throw out the first pitch for the rest of the season.
The
rest of the season.
You might have the greatest season of all time ever.
Think about the standing ovations you get when Grimace is walking out there in the World Series, throwing out the first pitch.
Bro, can you imagine though? It's like critical Game 7 World Series. Runner at second. We got to cash this run. What's this? Pinch hit situation right now. Grimace up to the dish.
Bruh.
500 feet. It's gone.
Grimace smashes a walk-off dinger.
Listen, man, I want to say crazier things have happened, but I don't know if crazier things have happened. And that would be good for baseball.
That is good for baseball. That'd be amazing. Also, let's actually transition a little bit right here to our next segment, guys. This is good for baseball, ? You guys let us know in the chat. There's a new umpiring system potentially coming out soon, maybe in the next few years. But right now, the umpiring system, ABS, which is a little Hawkeye out in center field that's going to track. It basically tracks the
Do you know
box.
what that stands for?
No idea.
All balls
selected. No idea.
All balls selected.
All balls selected machine system thing. Technology,
you guys
robot.
let us know. What do you think ABS stands for?
But it's basically out there, and how it works is there's a new system. Instead of like a complete robot ump, we're just relying on balls and strikes from this system. What we're doing now is the games are going to be called regularly, right? They're just regular games.
Yeah.
Regular umpires calling it, but instead, each team will have 2 challenges, and if you want to use your challenge and you get it correctly, you get it back just like regular MLB. But if you get it wrong, you lose your challenge. You can only use twice per game. This makes sense. You want to save it for some pretty critical calls. And this right now is being tested out in AAA. So it's actually starting to move up the ladder a little bit. So we'll start June 25th. Nick, what do you think about this being tested out? Is this going to be good for baseball moving forward instead of just the robot umps? You let me know. This is also presented by Greta, everybody. Greta Bar, go check it out.
Quick shout out to Greta for being absolutely phenomenal, guys. They are just the best.
It's a great time. Grimace should be at Greta.
Yeah, for real, right?
That'd be a party and a half.
I have more questions just like about what's going to happen with this. So I guess my first question is how quickly, because you have iPads in your dugout.
Right.
How quickly do you get the results of actually seeing the box? Because if you can see the box immediately, like you could challenge every single one.
Right.
And then also, I guess the second part to that is how quickly do you need to challenge? You need to go immediately just like that? Like we challenge? Like and like the 5 seconds afterwards, or how fast can you do it?
So they tested it out in I think it might have been like single A or the Atlantic League.
Right.
But they tested it out with 3 challenges per game, and it's immediately like once he calls it, you got to tap your head, and it's like an immediate challenge. So the player calls the challenge, not the
player does.
The player calls the challenge.
Okay.
And it's immediately like
the player does. Interesting.
Yeah. So it'd be pretty interesting. Imagine a bad strike 3 call. Boom, boom, boom. It like bases are loaded or whatever.
Right.
And you it's the end of the inning. Oh, I got to use my challenge here. If we're gonna use my challenge, it's now.
Interesting. That's actually really okay. I just immediately had the thought of like, again, I wonder if people could find a way to cheat with this, right?
Yeah.
Like you already have something like the pitch comm system, right? So you got something where you could potentially like relay something,
right?
Somebody in the dugout taking a look at the iPad, hits a button or does a whatever.
Buzzers on the Astros.
And it's just like you're just challenging every single thing that's missed.
See, I feel like pretty quickly the league would
catch on.
It would
catch on. I think, again, like that's not a very innovative way to go about doing it. Someone will come up with a way and innovate and find a strategy that, that might work for them. Just on the surface level, though, assuming that there's no problems and everybody everybody does it the right way. The fact that it is the player, I think, makes it a lot more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because, I was picturing, it's the coach, and, you're looking at your iPad and you go, okay, well, we know what the fuck.
And you have like 20 seconds like you would for a regular call.
It's like we know that it's a ball or we know that it's a strike, so challenge, haha, we got you. But now that it's the player, it's neat because if you do it and you miss, you're gonna get shit on by your coach.
Oh yeah,
right. You're gonna get, it's like if you get called a strike, you get rung up, and actually that was a ball.
Yeah,
you are gonna get shit on by your coach. Or if it was a strike, then
especially if it was like in a non-serious situation, like there's nobody on, you're the leadoff guy. It's the first inning. You're like, what are you doing, dude? I feel like you'd have to train your players to be like, okay, you're only allowed to call it with 2 outs, runners in scoring position, like in a critical moment, like maybe at the beginning of the inning, like, okay, if you get on, use the challenge if you feel like it's a ball. Like you have to be able to use it because you only have 2. And so if you miss, oh well, it'll be interesting.
That's the thing. There's going to be a lot of early strategy going on with it because then also, like, I hear what you're saying, but if there's one, like there's been times, right, to get you to 2 strikes, right, where it's a really bad call, it's inside, they get called strike.
Right, and then it's like,
if you're like
so
90% sure that like that was a ball, get it a call. Now instead of it being, 1 and 2, it's 2 and 1 or whatever the situation is, right? And you haven't lost anything. So
that's true.
It is going to be really interesting, I think, how they implement this. I do think that just off the top, I got to see it in practice, but I think that this is going to be good for baseball. I think that this is going to be something to even add a little bit more strategy to it because it isn't full robot umps. There is still that element of we're human, we make mistakes, and that's always been the pushback, right? We want to have that.
Exactly, yeah. And even you have the human element of the batter now making a mistake.
He
too.
could, yeah.
It's great.
Why'd you call that?
Yeah.
What, that was clearly a strike, you idiot. Like we're going to be saying that at the TV. I can already tell.
And for people who are out there being like, oh, this might like take longer in the games, this might like delay the game even further and kind of push back the whole pitch clock thing. Well, actually, apparently it only takes less than 10 seconds to get the call up. It's up on the Jumbotron. They play it. And also, I think it's good for baseball because then you get the fans and excited, like, oh, he's challenging him. Oh, he got him. It's like, oh no, like, why George Springer? Why'd you do that? Right? So, like, I think it's going to be overall good. And again, it's only 2 times a game. So if you lose it, then oh well. But however, you're probably not going to be seeing anything until past 2026. Apparently, Rob Manfred said there's still a lot of technical issues in terms of the operation of the system. So it won't be until at least 2026 where they give it another shot, like at the big league level, or even consider it. So it's still a ways away, a few more years. But I'd be so excited.
Well,
to see that.
And that's another element too, right? Like it has got to work 100% of the time. It gets it right always.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine if it's like, oh, this thing actually fucks up?
Yeah.
And,
Well,
what's the point?
Well, think about tennis too, and they have the challenge system about like in and out, right? Like they got those systems in play. Like I don't see why we can't have it with a strike zone.
You can definitely do it.
Yeah.
Like you can absolutely do it. Yeah, and tennis is great that way. Like they do it. They do that shit like almost every other play.
Now I'm thinking, granted, they actually do have painted lines, whereas you have an imaginary box that has to adjust now to the heights of every batter.
Every single one.
That's true. That's
so
tough.
It's the thing. I don't know how you do that. Some AI generated stuff, but ultimately the idea of giving a challenge system and allowing people to push back against these umpires, because that's always been it, right? Like you say anything to the umpires, boom, you're tossed.
Yeah.
Which is terrible. Like everybody,
I hate it.
Everybody hates that, man. Like that sucks, right? This is a way for you to push back against the umpires, and if you're wrong, you get penalized. But if they're wrong, okay, you got them.
Yeah, I think it's great. That's good for baseball, in my opinion. You guys let us know in the chat, in the comments. Do you think this is good for baseball? Let us know.
What I can tell you is assuredly bad for baseball is when umpires are betting on the game that they are calling. That's right, everybody. We had some news break just a little while ago. Pat Hoberg, I believe his name is, he is now appealing the decision or the discipline following sports betting investigation, because apparently he was betting money on games that he was calling in the MLB. That is So are you?
So it's not guaranteed net. No, it's like there's no evidence that he did bet on his games yet.
Okay.
It's but or that he's bet on MLB, but they're like going through the
There's
trials
an investigation,
right now.
and that's what people are accusing, looking into.
Yeah, he's betting on general MLB, right? So if you bet on your own game, it's the same thing. Rule 21: if you bet on your own game, as a player, same rules apply to the umpires. It's a lifetime ban. You're done. But if you bet on games in general, you are 1 year ban. So that's what they're kind of going through. And he actually hasn't umpired a single game this year, but no one knew why until now. It's come out. They've removed him from the games until they do this investigation. So it's a pretty serious issue. If he does bet on the games, and here's the thing, Pat Hoberg is a phenomenal umpire. I was looking at it today on the umpire scorecards. He's one of the best in baseball. He's known as one of the best in baseball. He actually called a perfect game, not a perfect game in terms of pitchers, literally a perfect game in terms of balls and strikes in the 2022 World Series. And everyone's like, wow, like this guy's elite. You know, he's had a ton of great games. But so for him to bet on his own games being that accurate, it's like, well, if you know, wouldn't you notice something if it was like, oh, this was a really bad game?
This is a big outlier for this guy who can call a really good game. You know, all of a sudden we're missing all these balls, we're missing all these strikes.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Yeah, that does make sense.
So it's like, so it also just kind of, you know, that kind of sucks. That like if he did do that, it's like, come on, man. You know, like you are an umpire, but beyond his like scorecard and how good he is, you are an umpire. It is your duty to call a true game. Having influence like that in a game for your own personal gain, if it is true, is just that. No, that is bad for baseball.
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, we were talking about the whole gambling thing, I think, in the first episode of Bad for Baseball, where it was that one guy, you know, he was betting on Yeah. You know, he's betting on games that like he took part in and all that shit.
Yeah.
And I was saying, well, you know what? I think that people should be able to bet on their overs. I still stand by that. I'm still running with it. But umpires, sorry, guys. Referees, sorry, guys.
No.
You cannot bet on anything. You are not allowed to bet on the sport that you are reffing or umpiring or anything like that because you don't have an over to bet on. And, you know, there's the only thing that you can do is influence the game in a way that might be detrimental to the players on the field for your own personal benefit.
Yeah.
Obviously, that cannot happen. If this is the case, this sucks because Pat Hoberg, like you said, great umpire, and they are few and far between in the MLB, man. They are few and far between. So the good ones that you do have, you kind of want to hold on to.
Also, you know what's funny? I know we talk a lot about umpires. All the old ones are kind of like, it's common. Like they miss a lot of calls when they get older. This guy's 37.
Yeah.
This guy's prime eyesight, prime vision. That's why, I mean, I'm going to attest to that. Like, you know, he's got a sharp mind on him. That's why he's calling a good game. I want to have a quote. I want to say a quote here. By Pat. He said, I am appealing Major League Baseball. He is appealing it, by the way, guys. The whole suspension. I am appealing Major League Baseball's determination that I should be disciplined for violating the sports betting policies. While that appeal is pending, it would not be appropriate to discuss the case. So nothing really is coming out other than there's no evidence on this. He's appealing. We're waiting for more results of this investigation going forward.
Okay. Well, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see what happens there, everybody. But obviously, like, that would suck if that's the case. Like, if it was revealed that this guy bet on games and games that he actually umpired.
Especially the World Series. If it was the playoffs.
If that, you know what? Okay, well, here's a question. If he bet on that game that he called perfectly.
Yeah, no, that's... Yeah.
What do you even do there? You know, it's like,
well,
he called it perfectly.
Well, that's still like, it'd still be no. You know,
obviously, it's no, but it's like, he did his job so great, you know, like he didn't change the outcome at all, you know? Like he was like, okay, you know what? I'm betting on this. I'm going to be an honest guy. You know, like I'm going to make sure I get everything right.
Yeah. So, dude, if I'm an umpire, I wonder too, like, what if you bet on like the smallest little thing? Like this guy, like first pitch is going to be a strike. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's borderline, I'm going to call a strike. And I'll do it every game because, like, you're assuming, like, they'll be somewhere around the zone. I'm going to call it every time. You know what I mean?
don't even know if you could bet on that, but
I don't know if you could, but maybe somewhere, maybe bookies somewhere.
Right.
Who knows, right? Like,
well, I'll tell you what. I mean, the easiest thing that you could do if you're an umpire is just bet on bet on one player strikeout.
right.
Like
Unless he hits it in play.
well, that's the thing.
That's
Like
the thing,
you're obviously you're gonna take some risk regardless of what
yeah.
you do, even if you are an umpire and even if you do have influence.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I feel like that would be probably the easiest thing that you could control.
Like if you had like over 2 strikeouts. Actually, the other night we were watching the game. George Springer got called out on 2 times with balls like not even in the zone.
Right.
Maybe you have like I got George Springer over 1.5 strikeouts. Like it's close. I'm just gonna.
Well, I'll
gonna
tell
ring
you
him
what,
up.
that's safe regardless, man. Like,
facts.
everyone should be betting on that. Shout out to Betway for
Shout out to
sponsoring
Betway.
Bad for Baseball, everybody. You want some free money? Go bet on the unders of George Springer and the
Hell
overs
yeah.
of his strikeouts.
Hell yeah. I believe that is going to be it for our show, everybody, today. A lot of stuff we discussed, man. I mean, Dodgers still dominating. The Guardians just being absolutely elite. Like, they're still elite today.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of great players on that team that deserve to go to the All-Star game. Grimace, new mascot of the Mets. Let's go. I'm saying it right now. He's got to throw out the first pitch. I don't know when their next homestand is, but he's got to throw out the next pitch.
I think Grimace has got to go to the All-Star game.
Yeah, Grimace to the All-Star game, bro. Grimace for the new head coach. New head coach of the Mets, man. He's got to say shit.
He doesn't
Just
say anything at all, but they go 162-0.
Yeah, literally,
You
literally. And guys, let us know about the new ABS system if you're for it or against it. And Pat, what do you got on Pat, guys? You think he's guilty? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments down below.
Yeah, you guys are the best. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I guess push for notifications if you're listening on podcast platforms and everything. We appreciate every single one of you, and we will see you next Thursday.